Is it already recording?
Marker. Yeah, I can see like the shadow of the bookcase, but it's fine.
I'm not sure we care that much.
Okay.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm going to be answering some of your questions on writing. Before we jump in, I want to let you know I'm not going over any basics on writing. So there will be 3 links in the bio. One will be to Ellie Carter's book, Dear Ellie, How Do I Write a Book? It's amazing. I recommend it to anyone who's starting out writing. The second is to a book called What's Right, which my sister and me wrote together. It's the free version of Allie's book. Not as great, but it's free. And then the third is to a YouTube channel that goes over writing as well as publishing. So it's helps beginners, but then also people who want to move forward with their writing. So let's answer your questions and jump right in. One of the questions that I got multiple times is, where do I get my ideas? And this is probably a question that every writer gets, and the answer is, we don't know. But there is a way to kind of engage your mind, to kind of activate and just help you start thinking of ideas. And so the phrase is usually, what if? What if there were people living in the forest by the freeway and they like to play chicken with the cars? What if there was a girl and she was in a minivan at a supermarket and the zombie apocalypse happened? And so once you start kind of engaging your brain, you're going to start seeing, what can I do with this odd situation over here? What can I make happen because I saw a boy and a girl fighting, but she had pink hair and he was a preppy guy. It's more about just opening your mind and just kind of opening your eyes to seeing the world and what you can take and leave for your writing. The second question I got a lot about was writer's block, which everyone has it. You shouldn't ever stress about it. It shouldn't be something that gets you down because it's just natural. There's a couple solutions for what you should do. If you're a beginning writer and you have writer's block, I would take a break and map out more of your story. You might just not know where you're going next. And so take a step back and go back to the 7 plot points, which they are mentioned in What's Right as well as Ellie Carter's book. There's 7 basic steps that just helps you create a story arc. So go back to that and get a more definitive plan for where your story is going. So that should help beginner writers. If you have been writing consistently, just every single day, and you just have a routine down, then you might just need to take a step back. Just take a week off and just don't think about your book. You might just be on burnout, and so just take a step back, and that should help for those people who are staying consistent. If you're a new writer and you haven't stayed consistent, it just might be resistance. You just don't want to write, you're scared, that's fine. Just get your butt in the chair every day, even if it's for 5 minutes, and just write. Just put one word in front of the other. Don't stress if it sucks. Don't go back and read it. You just have to sit down and do it. So one of the questions is, who is the writer who inspired you to pick up a pen? And that one's an easy one. It's my sister Grace. She started writing a story for a friend who was on his Mormon mission, and she had so much fun with it that I was like, okay, why not? And I started writing along with her, and so she is a huge inspiration in my life. Do you have any favorite writers whose styles you try to emulate? I try to stick to my own style, but people who have inspired me is definitely Patrick Rothfuss, The Name of the Wind. I've read that book 5 times, but his style and just the way he writes has really influenced me, though I wouldn't say I actually write a lot like him. So, what do you do when you have the writing ideas but don't know how to put into words? That is a difficult one. For that one, I'd give it space. It might just need time to develop and become a full-fledged story idea, and so just wait. Just don't try to stress it, and just kind of leave it on the back burner for a week or 2, and then come back to it and see if it's become more. So yeah. When you have so many ideas, do you focus on one or write them all together? 1, do not try to write multiple books. If you're on your 3rd or 4th book, sure, you can start writing 2. But if this is your first book, do not try to write multiple books because you will get distracted, they'll get tangled, The most important thing for a beginning writer is just getting one book completed. You will learn so much in that first book, so focus on one book. Do you find it is necessary to outline every chapter for every story, or do you just list the main plot points? I just list the main plot points. Sometimes I go into a little more detail and I have specific scenes, but outlining an entire chapter is really detailed, and I feel like that is too structured, that I almost stress about staying within that structure, that the creativity doesn't really come. So I would give yourself just a easy flow and just mapping out the main plot points. And if you see more scenes than that, then definitely write those down, but don't stress about too much structure. Regarding character, do you do the get to know your character thing and see their strengths and weaknesses and fears and motives? Yes, with 100%. You want your story to be very character driven, and to do that you need to know your character to their core. What do they do when no one is watching, when they're all by themselves? What do they do when they're scared? What do they do when they're feeling really confident? And so to know that, you need to just take time and just ask them and just learn. Put them in a chair and interview them. Sounds weird, but it's definitely fun to do. You find out a lot of different stuff. How do you write? Like 3 stories, parallel, or one at a time? Again, this one's easy. If it's your first book, write 1. I write 3 at a time because that's how my brain works. And so I write a chapter of each one because then it gives me time to process where the story is going. I can jump to another one, get that done, and go back to another one. But that's pretty rare. How do you decide on the names of your characters? I go through the baby book of names, and usually I'll find ones that stick out for me. I have a tendency to make girls have guy names because guy names have a stronger punch to them, and my girl character is always stronger, and so that's what I tend to. But just fill your head with names. Just go through 1,000 names, and I guarantee you will find one that's unique enough that you like it, but not too unique that people are confused how to pronounce it. So I would highly suggest that. How do you come up with book titles? This one's hard. Sometimes they come at the very beginning, you instantly know, and sometimes you just have to wait. I would suggest honestly making a list of 100 book titles. It could be a phrase from the book. It could be the feeling that the book gives off. It could be even the character's first name. But just play. Just don't let yourself get caught in just, it has to be this one thing. Just write down 100 different names and then just wait and just let it sit. You don't have to choose a title right away. So just give it patience. How do you get past the fear of being rejected in your writing? You know, it's something that is just being a writer. Like, I have a lot of people who like my writing, and I still have anxiety about it. So just know that it's common, know that you're not alone, and that there are people actually out there looking for your book. And that's what's important, is finding those people. And there is a delete button for a reason. So when there's a comment you don't like, delete it. You don't need it in your head. Just don't focus on it. How do you push through the difficulty of writing? That one's hard because if you like writing and it's something that you're passionate about, there's not a lot of difficulty. Again, if you're hitting writer's block, then go back and map out. That might be where you're just struggling, is that you don't know where your book is going and you just need a little more concrete ideas. It doesn't even have to be really detailed. It can just be like, this will happen eventually, and this is the conclusion, and this is the resolution. So yeah, I would suggest that if you are having difficulty. How do you keep the writing your own? So many books with similar storylines. How can you set yours apart from them? A good character. You want a character that is unique because there's something of you and there's something real about it. It's so easy to be like the cheerleader, the nerd, the punk. But if you have a nerd's really not a nerd. She could like gaming. She could be a photographer. So that goes back to finding out who your character is, diving in. What is her weakness? What is her strength? Maybe she's a nerd who actually does kickboxing. So you need to find that one thing that makes them complex. They're not just a title, there's something more. A nerd can like makeup, but just not want people to see her in a certain light, so she doesn't wear a lot, but maybe she goes to the library and wears makeup because she wants to. That sounds really dumb. But anyways, it's just digging deeper into the character you have and finding out what makes her tick. What is the hardest part of writing? For beginning, it's just writing. It's just getting your butt in the chair, making time to write. And so that's why just finding 5 minutes a day, even if you can't write in that 5 minutes, just sitting in front of your computer, even if it's your phone, and just thinking about writing. It's making the habit of actually writing. That is what usually stumps people in the beginning. So, how do you apply your story? This goes back to the 7 plot points. I just make an arc from those, and from there I usually get more in-depth scenes, but I definitely start with those 7 plot points so I know exactly the arc and where my story is going.